guys, welcome back to another episode of Personality Pick. And we have another great guest, Ben Davis. Ben, how you doing?
I'm great, man. How about yourself?
Hey, so far so good. It's a pleasure having you on. How's your day going?
Oh, it's fantastic. I'm just studying for the GRE, which is interesting. I'm getting catapulted back to like high school level math and verbal comprehension. And because I haven't done it in years, I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck 2 plus 2 is anymore. It's a struggle. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I feel you. I remember taking a class similar to GRE a while ago, and oh man, it was a
Yeah.
freaking pain. We got Lou in the chat. Lou, how you doing? Thank you for everyone for tuning in. We'll get right into it. Ben, how did you get into MMA, and what made you, or what piqued your interest with MMA?
Yeah, so it was probably around 2017. I remember one of my high school like best friends at the time had asked me to come to a Buffalo Wild Wings. And he was like, dude, there's the fights are on. You want to be here. This is a big fight. And it was John Jones versus Daniel Cormier too, which is obviously at that point in time was a massive occurrence. So I went and I had virtually no knowledge of mixed martial arts up until this point. A couple names that I was aware of, but I never followed it, never watched it. And everyone at this fucking Buffalo Wild Wings was just so intimidating. They had like leather. It was like a bike crew. You know what I mean? It was like a fucking biker gang that had taken over the speed ups. So I was like intimidated initially, but as the fights progressed, and everyone was just super amicable and welcoming, and the excitement was palpable. Right when Cormier gets rocked by that head kick and is stumbling around, everybody was going insane. And I was looking around and I was like, dude, I have to be involved in this more and I have to follow this more. And over time, as a fan, I'm just like, well, we'll see what else I can do. But that's, I would say, where it started was Cormier getting fucking demolished by a head kick.
I, like you, started getting into MMA through Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
dude, it's great, man.
you see all the meatheads like, yeah, kick him.
Fuck yeah. Give me some more blazing wings. I need more.
And everyone's just like drunk off their mind, just chugging their beers. It's a great scene. If you guys haven't been to a fight night at Buffalo Wild Wings, I don't know if they're as exciting now, but back in the day,
it was a spot, man. No, the problem, I would say, when I went to ASU my first year, I was then in a very different social community where nobody was really watching fights. So I would walk a mile basically to this shitty sports bar called Freezers, and I would just sit there and watch the fights by myself every day, which that was less electric. But at that point in time when I was doing that and commuting, I was like, okay, now I can call myself a bit more of a serious fan than just like a casual.
Now, Ben, have you ever trained like jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, martial arts as a whole?
So that same year, right when I got into ASU, I did about 9 months of submission wrestling down at AZ Combat, which has produced guys like Kevin Natividad. Christian Natividad also trains out of there. CB Dalloway at one point was there. Tyrell Fortune, top 10 Bellator heavyweight. So I was down there my first year, really loved it, but financially, obviously, it's a ton, mixed martial arts gyms, and time. I mean, scheduling was difficult. I was really involved during my time at ASU. And so the most expendable hobby that I had was mixed martial arts training. So that was on the chopping block quite early when I came to making, okay, I got to lose this, got to prioritize that.
Well, are you done studying?
I am. Yeah, I graduated in May. So I'm at Fight Ready right now, inconsistently. Okay. Like I'll do 2 weeks and then get lazy as fuck. So no, dude, I'm fat right now. I'm fucking overweight. I'm like, I need to train now. I just, haven't prioritized it.
Yeah, there's no better time to start, honestly. And I feel like it teaches a lot of people different lessons. And the more people I talk to that are in the industry that train as well, I hear different feedback from everyone, because one person that teaches gratitude, for me, it taught me just being disciplined and showing up every day. So just the stories about being in the gym with these different fighters, and like funny stories, the sad stories, the injuries, you hear a bunch of them. That's what I love about it.
Absolutely.
What took you to a point where you wanted to start off like a Twitter page? What was like, were you just starting it off as like a personal page and then turn into something more? How did that go about?
So this current one, this is the third Twitter account that I have. This was my personal that I then rebranded after 2 account suspensions. But way back in the beginning, it was because of the esports work. So I had done sports broadcasting in high school. I was the president of this multimedia club, and we would like do live streams of every home varsity game. And after a month, I was like, these are boring as fuck. And so I was like, how can I make it better? So I just hopped on the horn and was commentating everything from women's volleyball to lacrosse to soccer to baseball to football. And I had no real knowledge of most of these sports or the players even. It was difficult at times to get whole rosters, but I just enjoyed it. I was like, this is the contribution that I can make that can elevate the broadcast. And so getting reps like 5 times a week calling every sport, I didn't really realize at the time, but that was very valuable when I got to this point where I was like, okay, I want to do the esports commentary. And within 5 months went from like the smallest league, which is called Agro, I don't even know if they're still around, to the ESFL, which is the UFC's partner league. So through that, I was like, okay, this is great. And the Twitter kind of spawned out of that. I had been on Twitter for I think 2 years before I started like actively using it. And I feel like a lot of people, again, not a lot of my friends watch the UFC or mixed martial arts. And so in Twitter, you find a community where it's like, oh, these are a lot of like-minded folks on a good old Saturday that are all doing the same thing.
Yeah, you find a bunch of people, a bunch of degenerates, I should
Oh,
say.
for sure. Yeah. No, fuck.
And the commentary you get throughout is like you have the more serious people, you have the people like cussing the fighter out. Why didn't you kick him in the head? Why didn't you knock him out? And they're all mad about their bets. It's awesome.
It's a
Um,
full spectrum. Yeah, dude. Betting. I just got into betting like this year. And I think it's if you look at any of my slips, any of my betting shit, I don't give a fuck about it. It's just for fun. Like it's never gonna be supplemental income. It's never gonna be like oh, this is a serious me putting bread on the table for anybody. I'm bad at betting and I own it. It's just fun.
Now, I did see that you previously did commentate a couple of mixed martial arts events. Are you
Yes.
planning
Yeah.
on doing more in the future? Do you have anything lined up?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that, for me, I've really dived into the deep end on mixed martial arts content between the media stuff as a reporter and a correspondent. And the play-by-play commentary is something I'm deeply passionate about. And through the 18 months of esports experience on the UFC's team, I'm like, okay, I've really honed tools. I've really developed a cadence, my own way of going about it, and it's been applied to actual mixed martial arts commentary. So there's a promotion here in Arizona called Rage in the Cage that does mixed
Yeah.
martial arts, and they also do kickboxing and Muay Thai and other events. So I'm working with them, and then I was just down in South America with Empire MMA. And the promoter, Hector Castro, he is the manager of Chris Dawkins, Kyle Dawkins, Jake Collier. So, he's been around for a decent amount of time, and it was an amazing experience. So, okay, I'm like, all right, established with these two. So coming into 2023, I want to make more of an aggressive move to hopefully get on 2 or 3 more promotions booths. Nothing major. Like I want regional, I want small shows, I want guys that their Tapology pages are just their fucking name and age. Like that's I think at the level that I really deserve to call. But within 2 to 3 years, if everything goes according to plan, I'd love to make a run for a larger organization and call fights for them.
I do see that in the future too, because just by the way you speak, how clear your tone is, and also you're very knowledgeable in a sense where when it comes to the play by play, I feel like you have to be very technical about the martial arts itself, and then you have the background and the training a little bit, and just
Mm.
doing all of that combined with you have a voice that not a lot of people have, and it's desirable. I feel like in the
It's
industry. So
I
I
was
definitely
an actor for 10 years. I did musical theater. I was a drummer. I was on an
want to do
improv
that.
troupe for within that decade of experience. So all of that has, transformed me into, a great public speaker. And in terms of interpersonal skills and relaying and articulating knowledge, I have to fall back and defer to that experience. But, within play by play, I think one of the most important things that I try and stick to is my lane. Even if I have a bit of experience, even if I feel like I can call that transition or that position or bleed into a color commentator's role, it's not my responsibility, And so that was my biggest focus between the Rage in the Cage shows that I've done and then the experience down in South America. I was like, listen, I'm going to stick to what a play-by-play does best, and thankfully, and I don't want to sound too egotistical or airheaded because I'm
No,
really
by
not.
all
But
means.
I've gotten a lot of good feedback. I've gotten a lot of good feedback and praise, and at this level, there's a lot of things I can't control about broadcasts. Like For Rage in the Cage, it's one fucking camera that's 70 feet away from the octagon. You know what I mean? So like that's why I haven't talked about it on Twitter, is because as much as I love the team and a lot of the fighters and it's such an amazing experience, I understand that if I market and I broadcast it to the community on Twitter, they're gonna watch it and be like, "This is shit. Why is Bane asking us to watch this?" You know, so until like that gets to a level where I feel comfortable, and you know they're on top of the cage and it's better angles, better product, that's when I'll roll it out. And the thing with Empire MMA, it kind of had that same problem, you know, because if you tuned in or anyone watched it, it was a tough broadcast. We're in the middle of nowhere. The internet's horrible. The production crew had never shot a mixed martial arts event before, so we're trying to educate and work with them to pivot. You know, like we're stacking their boxes that they were keeping their hardware and their speakers, and we're stacking those so that the cameraman can stand over the octagon. Like it was tough. And you know, 30 minutes in, I'm getting screenshots and messages how it's broadcast like 360p and nobody can really you know, I think one term they were like, it's unwatchable. And I was like, that's tough. But that's where I'm at right now. Hopefully in a couple years I can, you know, I'd love to still do those shows, but it's tough for me because it's like, I want to be taken seriously, and by no fault of their own. This isn't anything on them necessarily, but I want to be taken seriously. I want to have a career, and I don't want things that are outside of my control to potentially hinder my ceiling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know 100%. And stuff like that. It would hurt. Oh, wait. I need to get this out of the chat real quick.
Yeah, good old free for girls chat, baby. Girls 69.
That was an opportune moment. But yeah, I could see how much of a bummer it would be for something out of your control to actually hinder your career, because I've been through it and it sucks.
Yeah,
So,
it's just frustrating,
yeah,
you know,
obviously, if
but
it's out of your control, you can't really mess with it in a
for
sense.
sure. But that's
Yeah.
what I ruminate on because I'm so obsessed with like obviously nitpicking myself and critiquing, even with the Twitter. Like, you know, there's some videos that I put out and tweets that I put out. I'm like, it's just not that good. It's just not that funny. And the frustrating part about social media is there's also that converse where I do put out some videos and I'm like, that's hilarious, and then it gets no play. And I'm like, well, you can't control right what does well, what doesn't. But
That's
yeah,
MMA Twitter for you.
that's MMA Twitter. That's any platform in general. Fucking yeah.
Man. Now, Ben, do you have a favorite fighter and a favorite fight that you've ever watched?
Yeah. You know, I've gotta defer this one to a good buddy of mine, Billy Q. I'd say he's one of the first guys that I really started interacting with heavily. And, you know, after like getting to know him a lot more and doing interviews, making content with him, becoming like a bit more of a friend, texting, calling, and shit like that. I would say that he's got to be the favorite fighter because the way that I cornerstone that question by how much anxiety do I get when they fight? You know what I mean? My favorite fighter, the definition is how much anxiety do I get? And dude, I bite my nails whenever that guy's inside the octagon. It's stressful as fuck. So he's up on that platform. Favorite fight? That's a
There's a
tough
lot.
one. There's too many, bro. It's too many. Like historically, Swanson and Duho Choi is, you know, looking back and watching that fight, even if I wasn't a fan at that point in time, such an amazing war. I guess I would defer to maybe something like in more recent memory within the last 18 months, Yuri and Glover 1. That was an
Mhm.
exceptional affair. I'd say Poirier McGregor 2. Mainly because I had a watch party for that one, and everyone was telling me that McGregor was going to knock him out. I was the only Dustin Poirier fan there. Dude,
Oh,
I
man.
was the only DP fan there. And when he crushed him with that right hook, I was like, dude, I was screaming. I started crying. And one of the guys was like, why are you crying? And I was like, fuck you. You told me I was wrong.
I had the same exact feeling when I hosted a watch party for Pereira Adesanya.
Yeah.
Oh, my whole house was on Adesanya. And you know what, dude? I met this guy Pereira in the most random place. I went back home to the Middle East this summer.
Damn.
I saw him in the middle of downtown. I'm like, why are you here, first of all? Like, not, hey, what's up? I'm a big fan. Why the fuck
Yeah.
are you here? No one wants
Yeah.
to come here. And the dude has a presence. It it shook me.
Really? Yeah. You walked away and you're like, what the fuck?
I did a face-off picture with him, and I was terrified. Like, I'm glad I was wearing sunglasses because in the picture, my eyes would have been like,
You were like, yeah, no, that's too
please
funny,
don't
man.
hurt me. Yeah, and I was the only person rooting for Pereira that night, and just the feeling of knowing when you're right
It's
It's
so
it's
good. Yeah, it's
especially
unmatched.
in the fight game, especially in the
That's
fight game.
why that's why betting's tough though, is because like when you do those extended parlays and it's 8 legs, 9 legs, and you nail all of them except the last one, everything's negated. You can't be like, well, I was right on most of them. Like, no, you can't. Betting is just fucking it's tough. I will say this. So November 12th, Madison Square Garden, right when Padilla beat him, I was at a gay wedding. So I missed the entire event, bro. My good buddy, his name's Jace, who's getting married to his husband. And so I'm like double fisting Modelo's. I've got it up on my phone. And I'm just like, at one point I was dancing with his mom. And my buddies, they
Nice.
brought me over afterwards and they were like, do you know who that was? And I was like, no. And they were like, that's Jace's mom, bro. And I was like, nice.
The unexpected.
I was like, she's aged well, bro.
That's awesome. Now, when you bet, like, how would you describe your style? I know you mentioned that it's not something that you take too
Losing.
seriously.
Yeah, my style, not making money. No, I don't know. Like, there is a level of analysis which depends week in and week out. Like, if I'm asked to go on something like Chronic Combat, right, with those boys, Tyler and TV Scouting, great buds. Like, when they bring me on, I do the due diligence and I go through records and I try to see, okay, this person's been knocked out 4 times in the last 2 years. Best bet would probably be them getting finished again or under 2.5. Like, but if I don't have any obligation like that, I'll typically just go like, yeah, random shit. Like PFL last week, I turned $1.50 into $65, which I was like, yo, that's the three
awesome.
times a year it happens. No, I mean, I can't even really celebrate it because I'm gonna lose it all in 2 weeks. But yeah, it was like Dakota Tajeva inside round 1 KO, and then fucking this person by that, blah blah blah. Like, it's just random shit, you know.
Huge ticket on Larissa Pacheco.
No, I didn't, bro. Actually, dude,
Oh
I
my god.
fucked up, man. I was big on Harrison because she'd beaten Larissa twice. I think she'd beaten her pretty convincingly. I didn't really rate Larissa's competition since. Like, she was rattling off 5 first-round KOs, but against who? The same criticism can be made for Kayla. Exactly. Against who are you decisioning? You know, you're going the distance with 12 fighters. Like, that doesn't inspire confidence. But yeah, no, I think I had another parlay that if Kayla won by decision, it would have been $1 to 27. So it could have been a great night for me.
Almost there.
Yeah.
Now, this is the part of the show where I'm gonna pull up the pretty much lineup for this weekend.
Perfect.
We're gonna do a rapid fire pick'em. You can give me a method. You can give me just a fighter or both. Just off the top of your head. No odds in mind. Just straight up who you think is gonna win. First fight, we got Yasmin Jauregui against Estela Nunes.
Yeah, I think so. Yasmin's a pretty heavy favorite. I think inside the distance probably is best for her. I like Estela. I just don't think that she's on the same level. And I say that without any knowledge of both athletes. She could very well be on the level. I don't fucking know.
No, fight number 2, Francis Marshall against Marcelo Rojo.
Marcelo, he seems like a nice guy. You know, he's got some good tats on Twitter. Very, very fun fellow. So I'm going to go with him, even though that is going to be an upset. I think I want Marcelo to win, so I'm going to pick him.
How dare you support James Krause?
Oh, that's a James Krause guy?
Yeah.
I still support him, but I'm going to stay away from betting on him.
Next up, we have Natan Levy against Genaro Valdez.
So my boy, the Steamroller, just took Gennaro's O last time out in a pretty emphatic way. But, you know, he displayed that he's willing to go into the fire. I don't know if Natan necessarily is on that same perspective. Like, I think Natan's a guy where all of his fights have pretty much gone his way. I want to see him react to when it doesn't. So I'm just going to take the under 2.5.
I like that shot, too. I'm on the same bet. Next up, this is the Twitter fight of the week. Tracy Cortez against Amanda Ribas.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Oh, boy. I'm going to go with Ribas on this one because I think she's fought better competition. Admittedly, she's lost those names, but still, you know, the caliber of people she's gotten inside the octagon with is much more impressive than Tracy. Even though Tracy's, you know, had I think she's 4-0 inside the UFC. I don't think it's been against good talent. I think Hebos is going to be able to neutralize the wrestling. And then it's like, well, where does that leave Tracy Cortez? She's kind of a bit of a one-dimensional pony. So I think Hebos is going to piece her up for a decision.
I tend to agree. Next up, we have Darren Elkins against Jonathan Pierce. I
The
feel like
fucking damage, baby. I know, dude. This is a dumb fight because Jonathan St. Pierre, he's been exceptional since that lone blemish against Joe Lauzon. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, despite his success from that night, I still have a hard time forgetting about that night. And Darren Elkins is a fighter where every now and again, he's going to show up and fuck up your bets. So I don't know. I think that Elkins looked like trash against Cub Swanson. So this should be a great JSP night, but nothing warrants minus 450 or upwards of minus 450 on Jonathan Pierce. I would say like probably doesn't go the distance because who fucking knows?
Awesome. Next up, Michael Johnson against Mark Diakese.
Yeah, Mark Diakese Nurmagomedov, basically. I think he's going to smother him for a decision, bro. Dude, this motherfucker, he went from a fan favorite, the bone crusher, to now just sucking hips and, controlling guys for a UD. So
now I sleep.
I know. Yeah, no, straight up. It's frustrating. So I think Diakese by decision. MJ, though, bro, his last fight against Jamie Malarkey, I think he won. I think he showed a lot of great hand speed. He's still got it. He's just having some tough performances, Mr. 50-50 inconsistency. So maybe he'll decide to show up and catch Mark Diakese. But the last time Johnson got a KO before Alan Patrick was like deep Dustin Poirier in 2016. You know what I mean? So I want the Menace to win. Fuck, I have the walkout jacket, bro. When he fought Dustin Poirier at UFC Fight Night 94, I bought the walkout jacket because I was like, if anyone's gonna have this fucking collectible item that he ended Dustin Poirier in, it's gonna be me, a Dustin Poirier fan. Fuck all the Michael Johnson fans that wanted this. I've got it. But yeah, Diakese by decision. That's gonna be where my head's at.
Yeah, I mean, they do call Michael Johnson the best worst fighter, so.
Dude, he fucking really is.
Next up, this one should be fun. Clay Guida against Scott Holtzman.
So here's the weird air around Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman this week is the retirement talk. And I'm sure you've heard about this, but a lot of the time when these fighters go into a fight knowing that this will be the last time out, I think it does severely affect their performance. And Clay Guida is... I mean, you got to bring a shotgun into the octagon to finish this dude. Leonardo Santos had him dead to rights and found himself getting choked out in round 2. So I'm going to go with the Carpenter, baby. As crazy as that sounds, I don't think like minus 160 is a value play on Holtzman. This should be a pick'em fight because Guida knows how to make it dirty. And he's wilted before. And you tack on the retirement talk. Dude, this has got Guida by, smothering all over it.
Yeah, I'm more leaning towards the Holtzman side, but that retirement talk has pretty much pushed me away.
He's bigger. He's going to have more power. He should have more cardio. His takedown defense should be better, but he's retiring. And that's the thorn that can undo it all. Yeah.
Next up, we got Angela Hill against Emily Ducote.
Man, I do love Invicta fighters. I've got a preference towards that promotion, but I don't think this is the assignment that's going to go well for Emily. You look at the split decisions, her record should be a lot better than it is. I feel anytime you talk about an Angela Hill fight, that's the first thing you have to mention. And then she's fought some of the best names in women's mixed martial arts at that weight class. So I don't know. I think that the litmus test is not going to be passed this time out. I think we're going to see a pretty game Angela Hill. And again, I mean, Emily in her second UFC outing, taking on Angela Hill, who's had, maybe I'm wrong on this, but like 19 UFC fights or something. It's a lot of experience. And, you talked about my betting, my betting philosophies earlier. I typically bet on the person with more experience.
I tend to agree with your points there because Angela Hill has been in there with someone who's about to get a title shot, and she won arguably that fight. But split decisions happen. Next up, this is going to be really fun. God. Nico Price against Phil Rowe.
Dude, Phil Rowe, big Phil Rowe, man. I think that it's less about my interest in Phil Rowe's power and his accuracy, and it's more so the decline of Nico Price. The hybrid has shown just backsteps every fight out for the last couple years, and it's so frustrating seeing a guy who at one point in time is considered in that top 10 action fighter to watch category. But now he's celebrating draws against Cowboy Cerrone
Yeah.
and barely winning against people who I feel like he should be doing a lot better against. He's been finished. He had the injury. Now he's coming back from a long layoff. I just don't really rate Nico Price at this current moment in time. Maybe I'll be wrong. Hopefully I'll be wrong. But Phil Rowe inside the distance, that's juicy.
Yeah, I tend to like that a lot. And the one angle that a lot of people are missing here is Phil Rowe's submission. The guy just,
Oh,
he's a
yeah.
black belt, long limbs, and Nico Price isn't much of a wrestler. So if he initiates
There
a
you go. Get
takedown,
some downs game.
we'll see. Next up, Eric Anders against Cal Dacus.
So with my aforementioned acknowledgement of Hector Castro and the work that I've been doing with him, it would be in my best interest, of course, to pick his pupil and Kyle Dacus. But outside of my own relationships, I think Dacus has just got more tools. I mean, the Darce Knight himself, 9 finishes by the Darce in his career. I think even another one in his amateur record. Eric Anders, again, his only submission loss professionally is to Andre Muniz. No shame on that. But man, he did not look fantastic his last time out. I thought he won. To be fair, I did believe he did enough to win, but his head's just stuck on the center line. He's not really throwing a lot of offense, not really a lot of power. And I don't know. People like to talk about the Alabama wrestling experience and he's a super athlete. I just don't think we've seen that in his last couple performances. So I'm going to go with Kyle Dacus. The only concern is Dacus coming back, obviously getting his face blown apart by Roman Dolidze not too long ago. So that's
Roman
the question mark.
Let me correct you.
Should I? What? Roman Vlismus? Yeah, the fucking the wife snatcher Roman. No, yeah, I don't know. Maybe if Eric lands and the fractures in Kyle's face aren't fully healed, that could spell some issues. But I think Dacus by decision is probably a good prop to watch for that fight.
Fair enough. Jack Hermanson against Roman Vlismus.
There he is. Yeah, there he fucking is. I like Roman a lot, especially in his last couple performances. I think his Phil Haas fight is a bit inflated just because, dude, Haas blew out his leg. He was not on 2 legs. And so people like to say that's true. I mean, it was caused by Roman, which is completely fair. But I still think a bit inflated of a win. And then the last time out against Kyle Dacus, I think they're good, but I don't think that they're great. And Jack Hermanson has fought great people. I mean, he's been in there with the best. And his last time out against Chris Curtis, he displayed a lot of different tools. Dude, no takedown attempts from my knowledge. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, but he styled on Chris Curtis with the boxing, with the kicks, had him hurt at one point in time. So I love the development that Jack Hermanson's displayed. This is kind of getting back to the Angela Hill and Emily Ducote fight. I just like the experience of Hermanson in this one over Roman Dolidze. So give me Hermanson by decision.
I like it. This is a car crash. Tai Tuivasa against Sergey Pavlovich.
Yeah, it's tough to break this one down because Sergey, you know, you look at him, physically intimidating, record of 16-1. I think that a lot of people are going to sway to that side, especially with Ty's last time out against Ciro Gane. You know, that was a tough TKO loss. Granted, you know, that kind of that eclipses a great performance from Ty before he got finished. So I don't know. I mean, both of their best wins, I think, is against Derek Lewis. And that's obviously not great. But Sergey Pavlovich has spent so much time inside the first 5 minutes. And it's like, if he doesn't get that finish, I don't know if we've seen the cardio get tested. I don't know if we've really seen him against guys that will fire back like Tai Tuivasa will. You know, Tui's displayed a propensity to sit in that pocket, eat some shots on his way up, and return fire. I think when Sergey experiences that adversity, I believe he's going to crumble. And a guy like Tai Tuivasa, right? This is a fighter who was on such a great streak, burning through the division. But before that, a bit of staggered results. I mean, he was gone from the Ultimate Fighting Championship at one point in time. So I think that there's a lot of questions that Ty's about to answer here, good or bad. And for me, because I'm such a big fan, let's go Tuivasa by KO.
All right. Mateus Nicolau against Matt Schnell.
Yeah, man, Mateus, what a workhorse inside that division. Matt Schnell's last fight against Sumu Darji, I think, is going to be propping him up a lot more than he should be. And not to be disrespectful, because that was an amazing performance. Talk about one of the best comebacks of all time. But Matt Schnell's not a guy that can do that every time out. That's what he's displayed. You know, more times than not, he has had tough results inside the octagon. And Mateus, he's not a lot of areas that I think you can really exploit. And so I'll just go with Mateus by decision. I think Schnell's BJJ can make this one fun. And I think that there's certainly a possibility that he can snatch something up. But Mateus, I think, is going to avoid all the tricks, the traps, and find himself getting his hand raised.
All right. This one should come as no surprise. Rafael Dos Anjos against Brian Barberena. Rafael Dos Anjos is a minus 500 plus favorite.
Yeah, no. Well, the surprise here is, why the fuck is this happening? I don't understand. I don't understand why this fight's occurring. RDA is coming off of a round 5 KO loss to a top 10 lightweight in Rafael Fiziev. Before that, he beat Paul Felder and I believe
Renato.
one other. Yeah, Renato Moicano, and it just beat the fuck out of him. And Moicano's great, So I don't know why RDA is coming up to welterweight one more time. I think that this is a very winnable fight. He should just be able to grind Brian into the dust with the takedowns, the grappling control. Bam Bam is fun, and I think that he can make it a bit of a scrap. But RDA, at this point in his career, I think has sealed off most weaknesses. I think he's developed this late stage fighter where he doesn't take a whole heck of a lot of damage, and he really has a lot of success doing what he wants to do. And I don't know. I feel like RDA by decision, that's going to be the best move here in the co-main.
There we go. I think he snatches up a sub here off the first.
Whoa,
off the
interesting.
First we'll see though. Main event: Stephen Thompson against Kevin Holland.
I'm not gonna mincemeat on this one. Holland by KO. Now I know that might not be the most nicest answer. I know a lot of people love Wonder Boy. I do enjoy him as well, but he's older. I don't think his performances have been fantastic. And while this is stylistically such a reversal from what he's been used to, the Bilals, the Gilberts, I just don't know how there he is, right? And a guy like Kevin Holland, he's got 6 inches of reach. I think he's definitely the younger guy, definitely more athletic, definitely a bit faster. So within 5 rounds, I feel like that right hand of Kevin Holland's going to land. Honestly, what might be interesting is if you want to play that sub prop on Trailblazer.
Oh.
Because he choked out Tim Means, looked pretty good doing that. Obviously, against Chimaev, the defensive grappling held up quite well for the first 45 seconds. So who knows?
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun fight. I think he might get, I'm predicting like a round 3 knockout. That's just what I've been playing out in my head. Like, okay, he gets a feel for him in the first 2 rounds, and then he lets the hand goes. The hands go.
The hand goes, baby.
He lets the hand goes in the third.
I think it's going to be the fight that I think about from Wonder Boy is the Vicente Luque fight, right? Where he's just able to shut down a very powerful striker. But the difference, I think, is that the movement, right? The footwork of Kevin Holland is a lot more creative. And I think he cuts better angles than a guy like Luque, who is so traditional, so easy to just kind of sidekick and keep back. I don't know if that's going to work against Holland. So, and again, like this whole main event is weird. Each guy's coming off of a loss. Wonder Boy coming off of back-to-back losses. I don't really understand why it's the main. No disrespect intended, but like as much as I like both guys, this is my gripe with main events is like they feel stupid these days. I feel like we could be getting better, like ranked fighters in main events. That feels like it should be a staple. You know what I mean? Guys within the top 15, top 10, guys on, win streaks. That doesn't feel like something that's hard to do. Yet here we are with guys who are in their last 3 fights combined, 0-3.
It's hard to look past. I easily could feel like Tai Tuivasa and Pavlovich could be the main event here.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, 1,000,000,000%. That feels like in terms of rankings, in terms of proximity to a title fight or a number 1 eliminator conversation, that's better. But 5-round heavyweight fights, I don't know if I want to sign up for that.
I don't even think we're going to get 5 rounds. I think
no, definitely not.
The way I see it's going to be first exchange.
Probably. No, man, I would say in terms of nerves, it's that Tai Tuivasa fight because I am really high on him, but you look at the 9 inches of reach that Sergey Pavlovich has, and it's like, it's more so I just feel he hasn't experienced someone that's really going to throw back. And the people that he's fought are, with all respect, that I can give, pretty low level. I mean, you talk about in 2021, no fights. 2019, Maurice Green and Marcelo Gome. 2018, he lost to Alistair Overeem in round number 1. And maybe 2018 Overeem is better than I remember, but if Alistair can get you out of there, I bet Tai Tuivasa can as well.
Most definitely. Well, Bane, it's been a pleasure having you on. Let the people know where they could find you, what you have going on, and what you have in store for the future.
Yeah, so next week I've got a lot of content coming for 282 with Ransomville, Raised, Tampa Train, Billy Quarantillo. I'll be up there in Vegas getting some stuff with him at Ben the Bane Davis on all platforms. We'll see. I also do some work with MMA Island, so go follow them. Make sure you're subscribed, and Instagram is mainly where they are. I'm mainly on Twitter, but it is what it is.
Well, again, I thank you so much for being on, and guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week for another episode. We'll catch y'all later.